Welcome to Building Something Admirable, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of how to start a healthcare-related business. I'll share each step that we took to establish our now thriving practice at Meyer Medical, including our highs and lows, insider advice, and real-life lessons in every episode. Good evening, budding medical entrepreneurs. This is the Building Something Admirable podcast. I'm Alex. Thank you for tuning in. So, in a continuation of the changing pricing model saga, I think I had an epiphany. This might be an effect of sleep deprivation or just spinning my gears so much on this idea that the gears are starting to strip, or it's an act of genius. Let's talk about it. All right, let's get started. So, as we talked about before, when you're trying to do a value-based pricing model for your practice, you want to make sure that you're truly adding actual value. And in some cases, or actually in the best cases, you essentially want to create a category of one where your service is not comparable to anybody else's. In this way, no one can compare you based on price, anything. You want to be standing alone and have no one able to put you up against another competitor and go, well, you know, this guy, he's doing about the same as you're doing here, but I can get that for, 75% the price. Yeah, I might have to give up this one little thing, but otherwise they're about the same, so why don't I just do that? You want to be truly incomparable. In this case, I think I figured out what to do. And the best iterations like this, and mixing and matching, of course, is going to be something that taps into your unique skill set, obviously, or your unique passion, or just something that makes you go duh and not in this case. Back to my backstory. When I was an undergrad, I was studying marketing. At that time, I had a couple dreams. One of which was I wanted to own a gym. And this, of course, can be lucrative or it can be an absolute freaking nightmare. And in the gym in which I was working, it looked like it was somewhere on the nightmare end of the spectrum. If you're trying to compete with the Planet Fitnesses, LA Fitnesses, and every other fitnesses of the world, and you're an independent gym offering the same stuff, you're just gonna lose. You don't have the pockets to deep enough to maintain a margin razor thin for long enough that you either starve out your competition or can slowly compound into a winning formula here. Now, instead of that, there's a great book written by Alex Hormozi on this one, which is actually what got me into the Hormozi universe, actually, called Gym Launch Secrets. And in it, he describes this same kind of problem, right? And how he entered it prior to having experience with the same mentality, I'll do what they do for less, which meant that he literally lived in his gym. And that's how I kind of feel about my medical practice right now. As you can tell by the darkness in the videos that end my day, I haven't left during daylight in a little while. So clearly something's got to shift. And his shift came when he was able to truly provide a whole unique service and sell these packages on value and yada yada yada. Cut to the chase here, became wildly successful with that, opened a bunch of gyms, the rest is history. for me, at that time, when I was working at a gym as an undergrad, my boss was a very successful, I think he was a construction guy, dumped his life savings into a gym, and at the time I just thought he was a cranky guy, but now being on the other side of entrepreneurship, I could tell he just saw me as a backwards hat wearing 19-year-old who couldn't care less about anything except for, having fun with his friends, and didn't think I took it seriously enough. At the time, maybe I didn't. I actually don't remember it well enough because, my goodness, it was half a lifetime ago. But that job, I'd gotten it because I had previously done some personal training classes, and I really liked fitness, and that was one of the first glimpses of my future as a physician, particularly one in physical medicine and rehabilitation. Now, I still love the gym. I try and go 5 days a week or so, which is half the reason why I get home so late, is because I usually go in the middle of the day now, because otherwise I'm just not going to go and find other work to do that fills up my time anyway. So ultimately, at Meyer Medical, our whole premise is getting folks to achieve things both in health and outside of health that they didn't think possible. Something that's truly admirable, right? That's where the name of this podcast and the Do Something Admirable podcast come from. The idea that given the right knowledge, guidance, so hands-on guidance in some cases, and inspiration, you can achieve a lot more than you previously thought you were capable of doing. There's always a sticking point, though, especially when it comes to kind of self-improvement that requires time. Now, in our case, a big part of our program that we've designed is the marriage of lifestyle modifications, so health and fitness, and medical weight loss in the context of prehabilitation. So we take all those things and we run it through a little invisible filter here to figure out how the heck we can make these changes in the shortest period of time to reach the maximum goal at the time of a procedure. So you need prehab for hip replacement, you need to lose weight, you've never exercised before. How can we make this happen with the least amount of effort it seems possible? Now, I say that to kind of incept in my patients' minds that it's completely achievable, because it is. But if I tell them it's a crap ton of work and you're gonna have to make a whole lifestyle change, it's gonna stop before it starts. So part of my spiel is framing these changes as very manageable, because that's kind of the point. They're supposed to be. You can make a few changes that become a few more changes that become a whole new lifestyle, and you didn't realize how you got there. The same way that I can't remember how the heck I ended up going to work in shorts and a t-shirt with a backwards hat, checking people into the gym, and then doing some personal training sessions, to now, physician and this podcast. Now, so that brings me to the crazy idea, and you might have figured it out by now during this rant. There are plenty of medical practices that may be run by a gym rat like myself. There may be some medical practices that combine health and fitness as the priority, and then medicine. Plenty of those. There are less of them that are a combination of physical medicine and rehabilitation, so being able to address the pain issues and all the things that PM&R is great at doing as a means of achieving medical weight loss goals. So, as I mentioned previously, and this is a great tangent to go on briefly for how you can establish your niche. There's only about, I think there's a dozen or so PM&R folks who also have their obesity medicine certification. And this goes back to a Scott Adams quote that I'm going to paraphrase, and I don't want to give much credit because, from what I understand, he's not the nicest guy in the world. But basically, it's not worth trying to be the top person in one area. But if you're a top 25% person in a couple areas, then you're likely the top person in that combination. You know, assuming that they all don't have collinearity, yeah. And each is an independent variable here with no relationship to the others. At 25% times 25% times 25%. If you have three of them, you're going to become a top fraction percent person pretty quickly if you keep doing that. And they don't need to be anything too spectacular. You just got to make that Venn diagram as tiny as possible. So, in this case, already, you know, in a league of only a couple here, but that in and of itself, you know, it's really about the outcomes that matter anyway. So just saying that I'm in this small group of folks, unless you understand and you're looking for that kind of a guy, someone else will probably do the job you're looking for just as well without having that dual certification. And there's plenty of rehab folks who are into obesity medicine but don't have the certifications, and I technically don't have it yet. I'm board eligible, whatever. But I bet you it's an even smaller group of folks who have previously been trainers and are very comfortable both teaching exercise and form and those things, as well as doing the medicine side of things too. So, to the idea, I'm thinking, you know, as we talked about with the dual pricing model, we want to keep it really into two tiers. Keep it simple. Basic membership and the comprehensive bend over backwards boutique. We practically massage your shoulders while you're, you know, putting together a kale salad level of care, with the end goal being folks are so invested monetarily that they're also invested completely in the rest of it, so they reach their goals spectacularly. Two, that the folks who are willing to pay up for this and get the appropriate level of attention, well, that those funds end up allowing us to do a lot more for a lot more people elsewhere. So, what if I go to the gym with people? That's simple. What if I am willing to make some of my appointments be exercise-based appointments? So we can do a full history and physical. Heck, I get to do a great physical of the person if they're in the gym. But on the flip side, say it's somebody who desperately needs a hip replacement, amputation, whatever, but they're healthy enough to go to the gym, but they just really don't feel comfortable with the idea. Well, they got a physical medicine rehab doctor alongside them, training them, you know, showing them the form, making sure that they're comfortable knowing that they're not going to have some sort of cardiac arrest while exercising, or that, God forbid, they did. They're in good hands if that happens. That is just crazy enough to maybe work. And if we can do that, I gotta imagine that that premium would be sufficiently high to bankroll any number of you know, donated services to folks who can't afford the membership at any level, but, you know, need what we're offering here. I feel like this kind of thing would be expected to be priced off the charts, and for the dozen or so people willing to pay those prices, I mean, they'd be thrilled to pay any price. You know, this is not a program for most, but for the handful of people that are sold by something like this, my goodness, there's nothing like it. So we, you know, I literally came up with this idea about an hour ago, and again, it's an offshoot of prior ideas, so this isn't a full revolution in ideas for the 30th time this week. This is actually just a constantly iterative process that we're trying to find the right way to launch. I think this might be it. This is that thing that before I was like, well, you know, will people really see it worth that value? And we're gonna have to try and sell them on this idea and really convince them that, you know, it's worth to pay $250 a month for X, Y, and Z. In this case, again, you get a full suite of included services, but the big one being, you got a doctor in the gym with you if you are apprehensive about any aspect of this thing. And I think that's going to be the ticket. So, this is a constantly evolving picture. We might be watching a video 2 months from now, looking back and saying, wow, was that a bad idea? I can't believe I didn't anticipate X, Y, and Z. Or, might be looking back and saying, that's the idea that changed everything for Meyer Medical. So that kind of gave me a little bit of zest for my day here, and I am now pulling in to continue this discussion with my wife, and Lauren is here too. So let's continue the brainstorm. Tell me below if you think this is madness or if you think I'm onto something here. Also, as always, I appreciate any sort of questions, comments, feedback that I can do to make this a better experience for you. The entire purpose of this podcast is to share my experiences in this crazy world of entrepreneurship in the hopes of making your journey a little shorter, straighter path, and straight to success. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe if you found this helpful, and if you really found it helpful, please tell your friends. All right, best of luck. Stay tuned for more insider advice on building something admirable. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe below.